very pleased. You know, they just are continuing to rise. And that's a very good thing, because it means that people are actually beginning to listen. And they're listening to actually what I'm saying, as opposed to what people say that I said. Or, you know, you have some of the media, all that they can ever talk about is early on when I may have made some statements that perhaps were not very healing statements. And they say, oh yeah, you know, he's the one who said this, he's one. But they don't listen to any of the important things that are being said. But now the people are really starting to listen. And that's what's important. And it's one of the reasons that it's good that we have an extended election process. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And over the course of that time, it's possible for people to actually get to know who the candidates are.
What do you think about what Donald Trump is saying about you today?
I don't really pay any attention to any of the infighting, because I recognize that what happened is that some of the media tried to take what I said and tried to create conflict with it and goad people into a fight. I'm never going to get into the mud and sling mud. All that does is provide entertainment for people. And we have such important things to deal with in our country.
Dr. Carson, during the second debate, you plan on being a little more aggressive, getting more questions sent your way. Is that something you'd like to see happen for the second debate?
Well, it's not something that I have control over, obviously. If I did, I would have spoken a lot more in the first debate. But I suspect that since I'll be center stage with Donald Trump, that there probably will be more attention focused on me this time around. And I certainly hope so, because I would love to have an opportunity to really talk about some important issues.
Dr. Carson, you know, Texas was the site of what turned into a mini Ebola outbreak here in the United States, over in Dallas. Do you think the president handled the Ebola issue correctly here in the United States, and do you think those hospital officials did? What would you have done differently?
Well, I like the second question better. What would I have done? I would not have brought people back into this country who were infected with the disease.
Even the Americans?
Even the Americans. You know, there are hospitals already over there. We also have medical ships. We have ways of not exposing our populace to danger, because it's fine to bring them over if nothing goes wrong. The problem is we don't have a guarantee that nothing will go wrong. And to have that kind of danger potentially being able to spread amongst our population, it's not a risk that I'd be willing to take. You always have to do a benefit to risk analysis. And you know, I wrote a book a while back called Take the Risk. And I recommended that you ask 4 questions. What is the best thing that happens if I do this? And what is the worst thing that happens if I do this? What is the best thing that happens if I don't do this? And what is the worst thing that happens if I don't do this? If you ask those 4 questions with respect to Ebola, you could get some pretty awful things by bringing people in.
Dr. Carson, do you have comment on the death of Deputy Harris County Deputy Goforth and the increased violence against police officers?
Yes. Well, obviously that was a tremendous tragedy, and unfortunately, you know, there has been an escalation of tension between some people and the police. And the unfortunate thing is that people have come to believe that the police are inherently evil and that they need to be destroyed simply because there may have been some bad apples in the police force here and there. But if people really stopped and they thought about it logically, they would say there are bad apples in every profession. You know, there are bad teachers, bad doctors, bad journalists, you know, everything. They're bad ones. So do we go out and kill the rest of them because there were some bad ones? That doesn't make any sense at all. And what we really need to do is to be able to sit down and discuss what the grievances are. And tomorrow I'll actually be in Ferguson, you know, talking with people on both sides and, you know, listening, because a lot of what you have to do is listen. So you can actually come up with solutions. And what I always recommend is that the two sides sit down and have meaningful discussions. What we've gotten in the habit of doing in this country is getting in our respective corners and then firing hand grenades at each other. Nobody's listening. You know, they're just waiting for their opportunity to lob their hand grenade. And that's not working for us, and that's why there's so much division in our country. And I do believe that it threatens us every bit as much as global jihadists. Yes.
Dr. Carson, what are your views on Agenda 21?
People are asking that question so often. You know, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, and I'm not sure, you know, unless you have an hour to go into pros and cons, that that's a good.
Can you repeat her question? We didn't hear back here.
Agenda 21.
Dr. Carson, I'm sorry if this is already covered, but you've been increasingly critical of Donald Trump these past 24 hours. One of the candidates here from Texas, Ted Cruz, has made a point of not criticizing Donald Trump. And do you think that's a smart strategy for Senator Cruz, and do more candidates need to speak out against Donald Trump?
Well, I have to take a little issue with the premise of your question.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I haven't really been increasingly critical of him. I've simply stated my opinion. I stated my opinion that rounding up millions of people and sending them out is not going to work. It's going to be much too complex, much too expensive. We'll start a logjam in the judicial system, and it's just not a plausible thing. It could also cause a collapse of the farming industry, the hotel industry, service industries. There are a lot of unintended consequences that would occur. So there are probably better ways to do things. And it doesn't mean that I am an advocate of amnesty, because I'm not. But what I've said is that it is important that we close the borders, all of the borders. We can seal the borders. We have the ability to do it, just not the will to do it. That we have to turn off the spigot that dispenses the goodies so that people won't want to come here, and that includes employment. And that we have to deal with the people who are still here. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that as many as 30 to 40% of those people are here from overstaying their visas. They're not necessarily people who just come across the border. And we have to have a reasonable plan to deal with those individuals. The people who become part of the fabric of the country, where are you going to send them back to? And letting them become guest workers, which does not give them citizenship, does not give them voting rights, but doesn't collapse all the various industries, seems like a very logical way to do that.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
Dr. Carson, what do you think the poll numbers say about the desire for a political outsider?
I think what the poll numbers are saying is that people are tired of the political class and people who sit around with their fingers in the air trying to see which way the wind is blowing and what do people want to hear, and who want to put another notch in their belt, on their political belt. What they're really looking for is some integrity, some truth. People are frustrated by the fact that they don't believe in their government anymore. And I think it appears that the outsiders are more likely to offer that than people who are steeped in political tradition. That doesn't mean that there aren't some people steeped in political tradition who aren't good people and who do mean well. But it's very difficult for the people to distinguish them from the ones that they don't trust. So they say, rather than try to make that distinction, let's go with somebody who has a very different mindset and perhaps somebody who has a proven record of achievement.
Do you think that you have the experience though? Do you think that means you have experience or you have left, maybe not been there?
Well, I would simply say, I would hope that the American people would listen to my solutions versus the solutions of people who've been lifetime politicians and use their good judgment to make a decision about whether it makes sense or not.
Great, thank you all so much.
Dr. Carson, when can we get medicine moving in a proactive instead of a reactionary direction? Everything is now, let's test for what you have and then treat it. When can we get to vaccines and preventing people from getting cancers instead? I mean, cancer's big money, I get that, and they're unrelenting.
Well, tremendous progress has been made with cancer. You know, consider the fact that at the last turn of the century, the average age of death in this country was close to 50, and now it's close to 80. And a lot of that is because of the tremendous progress that has been made by scientists and medical professionals in this country. That's going to continue. We have to make sure that we create the proper environment so that that can continue in a very significant way.
Thank you for your time.
All right.
Appreciate it.